he asked, our piglet asked Pooh, and he said, it's today. And I don't know who said what, but somebody said, it's my favorite day. And so this is our favorite day. It's the Feast for the Soul, day 17. And I'm excited to introduce you to our faculty member today. And her name is Kimberly Braun, and she is a very curious and spiritual woman who spent many years, and I'll let her talk about this, as a cloistered nun, and eventually came out of the nunnery, wrote a beautiful book, and she talks about dark nights of the soul and the beauty of awakening. And she's here today to help you or to give you some guidance in a practice that she loves. And I think of the feast as like a potluck. All these beautiful teachers are bringing dishes that you might enjoy, and you might go back for seconds and thirds. And so Kimberly is probably one of those teachers. She and I got to know each other in Sedona, Arizona. She came to visit me and told me about her book. And she's come here and visited me in Santa Barbara, and she's an amazing cook on top of it all. So Kimberly, welcome. It's so good to see you here. I'm so glad you're here.
To be with you. It is really great to be with you. Whoops, should my
Oh,
video
yeah,
go
let's
on?
start your video. And I am going to pin you up onto the top for everybody. Great.
Awesome. It is fantastic to be with you all. And thank you, Sarah, for inviting me to be part of the feast. I live a life that is really centered on banquet mentality. Even when I joined the monastery, people thought I was giving up things. And I said, no, I'm actually going into the heart of the banquet. so, so it's a real joy to be with you. And I've had the blessing since I left the monastery to be facilitating contemplative practice. And so I love all the different practices. I'm always exploring and learning. But ultimately, for me, all of them bring us into a place of spaciousness that I like to use the word silence. And in that silence, we discover that it's not silent in a way that we're withdrawn or we are not connected, but rather it's the opposite, that the silence actually plunges us into the very heart or essence of life itself. We come into the vulnerable and direct contact with ourselves as consciousness. And by that relationship, we find our inner connectivity with all of creation and beyond. So I love being a part of anything that cultivates that and gives us an opportunity individually and collectively to eat at that banquet, to have that feast. And today's meditation, it was difficult to choose, but I chose the heartbeat for numerous reasons. I think with all of the uncertainties and upheaval that we're experiencing around the world and the challenges that have been magnified in the past year, challenges I think that have been there in the collective consciousness, but maybe haven't surfaced in the way that they have really affected our hearts. They have left us brokenhearted through loss, through uncertainty, through fear of what may happen individually and in the world. And the heart itself is a powerful metaphor, right? We have our heart that pumps blood in a subtle way, in a way that sometimes we perceive and sometimes we don't perceive, but it's happening nonetheless. And then we also have the heart as being the heart of the world, which is oftentimes seen as the center of where the emotional life is held, or even where we experience love that's beyond emotion, beyond mental capacity, beyond psychological constructs. So the heart is replete with a lot of different meanings to it. So I love this heartbeat meditation. I love doing various forms of it. The way we're going to do it this morning is going to be a little bit more guided by me. That being said, you are your own guide. So if my words are a balm, a channel, an instrument, a support for you to come into contact with yourself to open up to the essence of who you are. If they're a help, great. Let them be a help. If they are not a help, don't feel like you need to be rigidly faithful to the guidance I'll be offering. The whole goal is for you to move into the wordless fullness of your own essence. That's the goal. I'm on the outside of that. I'm just simply here as a friend on the journey. So we're going to use the heartbeat, and within that, I'm going to be inviting you to focus your inward gaze 3 times after we come into contact with the heartbeat itself. In that, I know that you're using your mind, right? And we think of meditation and practice as a way of the mind coming to its natural restful state so that we can simply be beyond words. But sometimes in practice, it's helpful to give the mind a bone. And that's all we're doing, is giving the mind a bone so that you can feel freed up to enjoy your own fullness, which is there, and you are somewhere in the spectrum of that. So that's a little bit about what the practice will be. And I am just thrilled to be doing this with you this morning. So I'd like to invite you, as we prepare for the practice, to adjust yourself in your seat, wherever you may be. If it's sitting on the floor, I'm sitting in a chair, you may be standing, you may be walking. Whatever your movement or lack of movement is going to be, let yourself come into contact with your body in this moment. And bring your awareness to how you're feeling this morning. How's your body feeling? Are you feeling achy? Are you feeling awake? Are you feeling a little restless? Are you feeling joy? Are you feeling a mix of all those things all at once? How's your body feeling? Now that you've taken just a moment with the body, I invite you to close your eyes, knowing that this is a great act of surrender and trust. To close the eyes that so often are our own vehicle to understand where we are, to see things, to feel a sense of groundedness, control. We're closing the eyes to let go of that way of being in relationship to the world around us. And with the eyes closed, bring the focus to the inward gaze. And let the inward gaze take note of what your inner state is right now. Is it eager? Is it agitated? Is it calm? Is it curious? Is it emotional? Is it placid? In the silence, just take a moment and relax into the gift of your inner observation. And all of these states, whatever state you may be in, is fully acceptable because it's the you that's showing up right now. And you are loved into existence beyond what you could possibly imagine. Now take one of your hands and let your fingertips rest on the wrist of the other hand and find your pulse. And if that's difficult, bring the hand up to the neck and find the pulse there. And if you're able to, let your inward gaze relax into noticing the texture of the pulse, the speed, the strength. And as you notice this, inwardly smile as a wordless gratitude to this pulse that is part of you being alive. And now that you've created the impression and memory of your pulse, let the hand relax on the lap. Let both hands relax. And bring your attention to the center of the chest, to the heart chakra and the heart. And feel, sense, or imagine the beating of your own heart. Bump, 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 bump. Become aware that at the center of this pulse, this beat of the heart, is a life force, a light that is much greater than you, and yet is at the center of your heartbeat. And either allow or notice that this light and life force grows and fills the entire cavity of the heart. And now notice or allow this life force, this light, to expand with each heartbeat and fill your entire physical body. Next, allow or notice this pulse, this divine pulse, this universal primal energy pulse, magnifying beyond the physical body and filling the entire space where you sit or stand. And this pulse, because of its permeable nature, as energy and life force extends beyond the room where you find yourself, beyond the space, and moves effortlessly to all points of creation. In this, we awaken to find ourselves a part of the pulse of all creation, which is simply the celebration of consciousness in form. Perhaps you will sense a certain connectedness with all things, where your center is everywhere and your circumference is nowhere. And while there is an exchange, an I and a thou in our life here, we open ourselves to the dissolution of what seems to be a polarity, honoring that I thou diversity, while simultaneously relaxing into presence that is both I and thou. And from this place, direct the gaze by bringing to your attention one area of conflict or violence that exists in our world. And allow the pulsing presence of your own being to flow effortlessly to that conflict or violence. shift the attention to one area in your own life, a person, a situation, where there is tension or misunderstanding or trauma. Past, present, or future. And allow the pulsing presence of your being to move there, restoring alignment. And shift the inward gaze once again to one aspect of yourself where there is judgment, limitation, pain, and allow the pulsing presence of your being to move into those cavernous places as well. And as we begin to bring our practice to completion, I invite you to bring your gaze to your hands wherever they may be sitting. And keeping the eyes closed, allow the hands to slowly raise, palms upward, very slowly. Watch the hands as they move upward and eventually come palm to palm in front of the third eye, the forehead. Very slowly. And once the palms reach the forehead, pull them. Pull your awareness down into the heart. Move to the place where no thought exists, yet all vision can be found. And as you pull the hands down to the heart, allow the head to slightly bow, bowing to you, bowing to the source in which you live. And now, like a lotus flower opening, open the hands very slowly as you open yourself to this day, to this evening, to your life. And let the hands come back to rest on the lap. We take just a moment in silent gratitude for this opportunity and for the yes that we gave to being here. And to ground ourselves, begin to wiggle your fingers. Let a smile form upon the lips. And wiggle the toes. And as you open your eyes, keep the eyes downcast. Looking down at the floor or the table, your knees. And notice the shift that is within you and the space around you. And from that place, lift your gaze to greet the screen before you and the many people that you've had this practice with today. Blessings, my friends. So great to be with you.
Wow, Kimberly, that was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Oh my goodness. Well, there are over 90 people here, and I don't know, I know you didn't listen to yesterday's practice, but David Shahabuddin Les led us in a heart-centered meditation, physical heart center. So this was like a beautiful sequel to that practice. Really lovely.
I'm
And
going to enjoy going back to that one.
oh, it was beautiful. And yours was too. And I wanted to ask you a question. I love how you took us out so slowly, which I find to be a key to practice. And you mentioned bow to the source that you live in, which I love that. I am a wordsmith, so I appreciated hearing that. And you are, so you choose beautiful words and your guide.
Oh, thank you. I don't feel like I can take authorship of that, but I can celebrate it happening for sure.
Well, thank you for being here. And I know you've been a faculty member on the Feast before, and there's a number of other meditations in the Feast library that you've offered us. And so they're available 24/7 at the Feast for the Soul website. We could stop the live stream now. And generally, Kimberly,